So I've been lost in train of thought recently, and since it's really bad weather outside, I thought I might as well record what I'm thinking and how I'm feeling. Um, it's kind of started because I am listening to philosophy again. If I probably document a part of it, maybe it will help my thoughts kind of grow. Because I always find when I listen to a piece of philosophy or a philosopher's train of thought throughout their life, that I only have one view, and it's kind of like set, just like, oh, well, that's interesting, and it doesn't really grow too far from that. Like, I don't really have like question why the philosopher would think such a way. I reckon it's mostly because I just dwell on the same thing. And I think if I'm making a video about what I'm thinking, it will prove otherwise. Either I will show in the future that I have a different thought, or maybe I'll show that I have the same thought and maybe I've built upon that. How we perceive our social lives. And realistically, it's a lot more complex, I understand. But looking at it from the point of view of a swing is, I guess, what I can formulate it to right now. Because I guess I could formulate it to like up, down, or left and right. Left and right's the closest because it's said a swing or a horseshoe even. But what I'm thinking is that there's a balance in between. Now, I understand there's a balance with everything. So like, you know, the saying of you can't have too much of a good thing, and then I guess you could say there is too much of a good thing, or it doesn't have to be a good thing, you know. Anyway, what I'm trying to say here is the balance of the social interactions that we receive. So I reckon I've experienced now through my life, I've been on one end where I can go out every day, I can organize enough things within a month, because I get quite tired of a month's worth of like really filling my calendar with meeting people, doing stuff with people, like I'm talking social events, sporting, friends, going out meeting new people. This is including work as well, because I have quite a social job as well. Family even, like I'm talking all those things where you meet a person just in any situation. So you got that on one end, and then on the other, I've also been where I've had minimal contacts through weeks. This is more likely where I've spent a lot more of my time because it's easier to do in certain parts of my life. So I'm talking minimal interaction, mostly family, or just a couple friends you'll see when you've pre-arranged stuff like well months in advance. And they're like the only times, and the job that I have as well. So you got those two different ways that you can go. And I'll be honest, I reckon I'm now down in the middle again, kind of centered myself here. And the thing I want to bring up is like I just said, I've been to both these ends, and I really I want to know like if there's more to explore here. I guess this isn't really philosophy, is it? But it's not supposed to be philosophy. I'm just trying to keep track of what I'm thinking about here. But I want to know if there's more to this, because, you know, I'm thinking I'm at this part where I'm like in the middle of having the social, you know, like a reasonable amount of social life, and then having, you know, the separation, and, you know, doing your personal things. and just thinking to yourself. I'm thinking more about, I want to explore more about like the middle, because I find it so hard in our lives. I'm assuming it's more than just me, because I see a lot of other people go through this too, especially on the aspect of having less social interaction in parts of their lives, especially if you go through a rut. But not even that, like just out of convenience, I guess. But coming back down to the middle, I feel like this might be a really hard thing to do, because sometimes I'll push myself if I go from the end of not having anything to having doing so much. I'll push myself from that end, and then I'll swing over to this end, and I'll be doing so much for a month that I will just be usually so satisfied that I'll just swing myself back down over to here, and I really don't need anything. And that could be for weeks, and because I just feel so comfortable after I swung back to the stage of not needing any, not wanting any, not desiring any interaction, much interaction. I do desire, like I'm desiring to talk to people, but it's more of I don't need it. I'm not looking out for interaction, and it will passively be generated from the last months of social interactions. So then I'm stuck in the next month's worth of just me just cruising on through, and it will just be like almost like nothing. But the thing is, when I'm cruising on through, as I've swung back, is that me like swinging back to the middle of this, like so much social and not enough social? Or is that me just still being on the opposite end of actually not getting enough social interactions, or not doing like a lot? I shouldn't say enough, because I mean, I've lived both ways now for a couple of years either way. And I'm not too sure. Maybe it's because I haven't experienced what the middle is like. I don't have enough experience. Or maybe I've been experiencing that all along. And maybe this is just what everyone else goes through, because this isn't something that everyone talks about. Actually, realistically, I think about it, I've never had this conversation with anyone. I don't hear anyone bring it up. Maybe it's because it's so complex. That could be one of the reasons. And I understand, because it's such a complex situation when you talk about social lives. And everyone needs it. I've been watching, funnily enough, I think another instigator of me wanting to film this is I've been watching the series of Alone, the survival series. I find that so entertaining. The survival stuff is really like mind-blowing. But mostly that was what's mind-blowing to me, and just like super fun watching how like the ingenuity of people. I understand they get trained and everything, yeah, but even that, like you have to be experienced to do like half of this stuff anyway. Like have enough prior experience. Like I don't know how to trap an animal. I wouldn't know how to gut an animal. I wouldn't know how to make a boat. Like God knows, I don't know how to fish. Like let alone making fishing like a proper net that people are doing. Let alone that. But the main premise of the show is, like the name suggests, alone. So that, I guess, has been another instigator, because everyone on the show goes through an aspect of not having enough communication in their life when they're on the, like, partaking in the show. And I guess we can't fathom it because we're not in their shoes, but you can obviously see what people are going through. But it's just like, are we actually like that? Like, I don't know, like, I don't know if I've been through a point in my life where I've mentally been like, oh my God, like I need to talk to someone, like I'm missing these people so much. And I understand that's because of the situation in, and I'm valued and thankful for what I have, but like it does lead me to want to know a little bit more about what's going on there, like because you think, we can do all this, like we're so strong and independent, but are we actual? Like I want to know, like I physically want to know. I don't think I could survive on a show like Alone to find out, that's for sure. Like I said, it blows my mind. I don't know how to feed myself out in the wild. God knows. So, I don't know how I'll obtain this knowledge of feeling so isolated. But maybe over the next couple of years, something may happen when it puts me in the situation like that. And then I'll be humbled, I reckon, because from seeing other people go through this and then going through it yourself, you finally realize all the struggles that they've had. But who knows? I mean, maybe we can actually be alone enough. And maybe that swing that I'm talking about, maybe it isn't really a social thing. Maybe it's just your mentality. Now that I think about it, that's the growth that I'm looking for in this right now. Is I've never thought, is this what I've juxtaposed to this social swing of not doing much in my social life to doing a lot? Is it not actually about the social life? Is it actually about just your mentality? Is it that you're comfortable mentally to just do what you want without the need for interaction, still getting interaction from people, opposed to getting a bunch of interaction and maybe needing interaction? Is that what the swing is? Is that what it is to me? I don't know. This is what I want to think about. I think I'm going to ponder this a bit more, but I think that's something to take home. I'd love to know what other people think too, but I'm definitely going to review this, and probably, in a couple of years, if I get to that point when I experience this in my life, when I am really alone, physically and mentally, away from everything, this might make more sense. It'll put into perspective what I'm talking about. But I kind of hope I find out sooner.